to you by New York Parrot TV, the voice for humanity. Hi, this is the most amazing collection I have read so far. I'm a reading-aholic. Dustin Pickering, you know me from Parrot Literary Corner. This is the Literary Parrot, available at Amazon.com and its various affiliates. If you have not seen this collection, it's 249 pages of glorious global literature in a contemporary vein. This covers a lot of subjects from the coronavirus to violence on the streets, to love, to romance. Everything you can imagine is in this collection, and you should buy it now. I'll tell you why. It's a collection of unique voices from the Literary Parrot. People have been on our show, have been participated in this, or have been published on our website, newyorkparrot.com. So please, I implore you, buy a copy. Thank you, and
Keep watching the New York Parrot TV, the voice for humanity.
Hello, welcome to the New York Parrot's Literary Corner. I am Dustin Pickering, your noble and honest host. Our guest today had some issues, and so she will not be joining us with her electricity and some issues with the connectivity. But today I've got a wonderful announcement. We will be discussing on Sunday a wonderful poet who was inducted into the Chicago Literary Hall of Fame in 2014 by the name of Edgar Lee Masters. Perhaps some of you viewers have heard of Edgar Lee Masters with Spoon River Anthology, which is a fictional town, and these are speeches from the grave by various people of the town, and you get to learn quite a bit about the townsfolk and so forth in this book. I haven't read it in many years, but it's a wonderful literary collection. And the importance of this book is that Transcendent Zero Press, my own press, will be releasing a new selected edition of Edgar Lee Masters' poetry from his various collections over the years that have sort of fallen into the dust a little bit. So we'll have Ryan Guth, Dr. Ryan Guth. He's from Tennessee, and he wrote the introduction reassessing Masters' legacy and showing us what is important about this poet, why we should remember him. I'll give you a little example of some of the accolades that Masters had received and over the years. In 1936, for instance, he was awarded the Mark Twain Silver Medal. And in 1941, he was awarded the Poetry Society of America Medal. and in 1942, the Academy of American Poets Fellowship, and the Shelley Memorial Award in 1944. And as previously mentioned, in 2014, he was inducted into the Chicago Literary Hall of Fame. So with Dr. Ryan Guth, we'll be discussing not only Guth's own approach to editing and selecting for this book. We'll talk a little bit about Masters himself and what can be learned from his legacy. That will be on Sunday, this coming Sunday. So be prepared for that. In the meantime, for now, let's listen to some spoken word, take a little brief break, and we'll be right back with some more information.
3 seemingly simple words are changing the course of history and driving protesters into the streets. I can't breathe. I can't breathe has been the final cry of too many of my brothers and sisters. And I can't breathe because their lack of oxygen is either caused by the boot on their neck or the stranglehold society has on the truth surrounding all of the positive impacts African Americans have had on all aspects of American history. I can't breathe because popular culture has been lulled into believing that there should be no ill effects from the scars left behind by 400 years of slavery, or by receiving land only to have it stolen and pilfered back in the name of a robbery known as sharecropping, or by the fraud and theft surrounding the freedman's bank, or by living with the results of the Black Codes, Jim Crow, redlining, or even terrorism and murder. I can't breathe because I take the time to remember and mourn the innocent lives lost during the race massacres of New Orleans, Camilla, Colfax, and Cincinnati, just to name a few. I can't breathe because even after enduring all those atrocities, Blacks have made astonishing bounds that are relegated to the halls of the obscure, while textbooks feign false adoration for 3 or 4 of our kinfolk. I can't breathe because all people need to know the positive influence their forefathers had on civilization. Why do you believe that we are any different? Where are our statues? Where are our monuments? I can't breathe because while you proudly fly the Confederate flag, ranting that your history and heritage are so important, you shout that Blacks should just forget theirs and move on. How can these two mentalities exist on the same timeline, let alone in the same consciousness? I can't breathe because even slave owners received reparations for the loss of their human property, and their heirs still reap the benefits of their ancestors' crimes against humanity. Yet the men and women whose open wounds bled as they helped to build this more perfect union received no payments for services rendered. And the only inheritance set aside for their descendants is your intolerance and condemnation. I can't breathe because it's so hard for some to understand that separate but equal only ended 66 years ago, and in truth, separate was never equal. Unjust laws meant to shackle Black families into generational deprivation ensured that fact. and I can't breathe because systemic racism is being compared to the behavior of a small criminal minority in an effort to water down the bloodstains left behind by both, even though each has a direct correlation to the other. And I can't breathe because when you attempt to steal the pride and history of an entire population, unwanted repercussions will be had by all. But raise up a community, teaching them of their accomplishments, and like a garden that has been properly fertilized, a great harvest shall be laid at our country's feet, instead of finding a barren wasteland where no one, not even you, can breathe.
Welcome back. I'm Dustin Pickering. That was Dion Hunter. We just had her on the show just this past week. Wonderful production there. Thank you for sharing your work, Deanna. It's wonderful to hear your voice and be acquainted with your thoughts on racial issues and social injustices. And now I'm going to tell you about an interesting story, which a lot of Americans are familiar with. There was a Scopes trial in 1925, and we're talking about Edgar Lee Masters, who was also a law partner with Clarence Darrow, who was the lawyer to be famous as the defense attorney in the Scopes trial. And that's just an interesting little tidbit of knowledge about Edgar Lee Masters that's not, maybe not as known as a lot of other facts concerning him. Masters himself wanted to be a literary person, and he published multiple books of poetry, and they received not very much attention until he put out Spoon River Anthology, which was the publisher William Marion Reedy suggested that he do this. And this book experiments with innovative form as well as classical poetic form, and it brings to life characters that Masters imagined himself from his own experiences. And it's a very interesting collection of speeches from the grave, these townspeople talking, and sometimes there's interactions between them and their stories kind of come together. And so it's very interesting and fascinating how this collection of post-mortem talk, I guess you could say gossip from the grave, written in poetry, came to be. And so that's a really interesting fact also about Masters. Now, I'm just to remind our viewers that we're talking about the show for Sunday, which will involve Dr. Ryan Guth, who is editor of a new edition of the selected poetry of Edgar Lee Masters, the famous American poet who is mostly rooted in Chicago, born in Kansas. And this book is being published by my own Transcendent Zero Press. And so we're also seeking reviews and commentary, anything that we to publicize the book. We can definitely, if you want to get in touch with me concerning that or any ideas you may have, we're working on a list. So please do be in touch with me if you have suggestions on publicizing this collection. It's a very important addition to American Letters. We really truly believe in it. It was several months of work and continuous revisions. And as I said, Dr. Ryan Guth is going to be on the program Sunday. So keep an eye out for that. And just remember that as I'm speaking here, we're doing this live. And if you're watching on YouTube, you can comment, you can leave questions, anything that you feel you want to say about the program in general, commentary, not just today's program, but also previous programs, suggestions you have for us. I've been more than glad to address anything you want to talk about as we're on the show today, and sort of a impromptu discussion of this Sunday's edition of the Parrot Literary Corner. And by the way, if you haven't picked up a copy of the Literary Parrot, just keep in mind that it's available at Podhi.com in India and thereabouts, and on Amazon.com and its various affiliates. If you're in other parts of the world, Canada, for instance, or you're in one of the European countries here in the United States, pick up a copy of this book. I'll be more than happy to even, if you have a picture of yourself, we'd love to share with our audience if you have a picture of yourself with the book. So please do remember that we are working very hard to promote literature, and we'd love your help. So if you want to be a guest on the program, don't hesitate at all to be in touch with me at Literary Corner at NewYorkParrot.com. And we'll take another brief break here with another piece, another wonderful spoken word piece by our friends. So let's hear that right now. Let's go for it.
They often wonder aloud, can't we go back to the good old days when protesters were like Martin Luther King Jr., peaceful?
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light?
We answer, have you forgotten he was murdered as well?
What so proudly we held at the twilight's last gleaming.
Hoses, dogs, batons beat faces and heads, causing blood to spill.
Whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous
jail cells moaned for relief as they were filled past capacity with black men in three-piece suits.
O'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming.
Bridges blocked on a bloody Sunday,
and the rockets reckless, the bombs bursting in air.
a church firebombed, flames dispatching 4 innocent little black girls off to see heaven's gates.
Gave proof through the night that our flag was still
Volunteer
there.
voter registrars shot in their car as peaceful protesters were found dead on the side of a dimly lit road.
Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave?
Young black men sent to fight and die in war, yet here sharing lunch counters with whites was against the law.
Or the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Were those really the good old days?
We're back again, and I appreciate you sticking with us for this program today. I'm going to read you a selection, just a piece of one of Edgar Lee Masters' works called Arabelle. This was published in Poetry Magazine. So let me give you a little bit of a taste of what his style is if you're not familiar. So this is called Arabelle, and I'm going to read you the first stanza. Twists of smoke rise from the limpness of jeweled fingers. The softness of Persian rugs hushes the room. Under a dragon lamp with the shade, the color of coral, sit readers of poems one by one. And all the room is in shadow except for the blur of mahogany surface and tapers against the wall. You can pick that up, then look at that poem on Poetry Foundation's website. It's called Arabelle. The poet is Edgar Lee Masters, if you want to take a look at the full poem. Back to the Scopes trial, and this is an interesting little piece of history. In 1925, as far as I know, to my knowledge, we are literally the only country, the United States of America, that has put the Darwin on trial. Teaching of evolution, a lot of fundamentalists in our country don't like the idea that maybe we're not just put here by God magically and left here, and then somehow his hand guides us. A lot of people don't really like the idea that we have descended from creatures of the past. So the theory of evolution was put on trial in 1925, the teaching of it in American classrooms. So if you're interested in learning more about that, it's called the Scopes trial. Literally this really contentious subject. And I think it's still very much a contentious subject in this country, whether we go with the idea of faith and creationism, or on the other hand, you have evolution and Darwinism. And there's always, seems like in the United States, we're going to have that battle until eternity drops on us. So, if you're interested in that and those kind of disputes, that's a good place. 1925's the Scopes trial, which Edgar Lee Masters' is partner in law, Clarence Dowrow, was involved. He was the defense attorney for Scopes, the teacher who was put on the stand there to defend evolution, why it should be taught, which is really stupid because obviously we love ideas in classrooms. That's what we want. We want challenging thinking. Just to say God did it doesn't really explain a lot, in my opinion. I'm very much, secular and also spiritual. So either way goes for me. I'm fine with people's beliefs. But in this case, it's like you're literally saying you can't teach this or it shouldn't be taught. And of course, we know in history who won. It's obviously, but we still have this argument to this day. And then it's really kind of silly if you ask me. I don't see why we can't maybe somehow oblige both parties to a certain extent. I mean, we have private and public schools. Why not? But anyway, Edgar Lee Masters is American poet, and he's a established figure in literature. As I mentioned at the beginning of the program, he has many awards to his name. And we're having Dr. Ryan Guth on the program Sunday to tell us a little more about him and discuss the legacy of this selected poetry we're releasing. It's about 300 pages, including notes on the poems, as well as an introductory essay by Ryan Guth himself to discuss the legacy and the importance of Edgar Lee Masters and reassessing this wonderful literary persona's work and going back into this. And so it's an excellent addition to the your literary collection. I'm sure it will be, and our goal is to release it for public in January or February next year, 2022. So keep an eye out on that. And as I said, Ryan Guth will be on the program on Sunday, and so just keep an eye out on Sunday. So it'll be a very interesting conversation. Also published his book Home Truth. It was a re-release of a collection of memoir. I believe he told me that it was a little bit inspired by Edgar Lee Masters to an extent. It's a very interesting book, memoir poetry, and you can take a look at that as well. If you're sitting around at home, don't really know what to do right now, why not just look it up and see if you see it on, and then find it and get some reading done today. Get a little sample of it on, look for it on Amazon, see if they can provide a little sample reading for you. It's a good book. It's a beautiful cover. And just keep an eye out. And by the way, you guys out there, tomorrow, Saturday, is the Friendswood Public Library's ekphrastic reading on Zoom. I know a lot of people that watch the program are actually going to be participating in this, including myself. I believe it's at 10 a.m. U.S. and in Central Time. So if you guys are interested and you're a part of that program, you're going to be reading your poetry that was selected by the Friendswood Public Library. Congratulations! I'm proud of you, and I'm sure you're proud of me as well. So It's going to be an excellent program with a lot of exciting poets, especially a lot of Houston poets here in Houston, where Friendswood Public Library is pretty close to Houston. So it's a lot of Houstonians going to be in that collection. And I know a lot of my friends from India were also selected. So congratulations again. You guys out there watching, remember you can leave comments, questions, and condemnations if you wish. You wish to tell me that I'm not doing a good job or that I'm stuttering a lot and you'd like me to be quiet for a while. You can tell me that as well. I'm pretty content with hearing that. So without further ado, why don't we have another piece of spoken word from Dion? If we have do we have another spoken word video from Dion Hunter, or something to share? Another piece of wonderful video, or maybe a song or two.
The year was 1863 and blacks were finally free. Free to live their lives as they pleased, just so long as how they pleased never upset the balance sheet. Free from the chains that bound them to work land that wasn't theirs, yet not free enough to escape laws that hindered their opportunity. Manipulation of the system guaranteed them low pay. Same work, different wage was the theme of the day. Still, every dime not earmarked for survival was stuffed under mattresses, placed into cookie jars, or buried in backyards. There were no other options for the freed. The white majority blocked access to established banking systems. But some of them did see this as a travesty, and with only good intentions approached the black community. The Freedmen's Savings and Trust, a bank specifically for the soldier of color along with the newly freed. But the path to hell is paved with the corpses of those who trusted words spewed from the mouths of the well-meaning. Yet even still, with hopes of building a better future for their progeny, blacks deposited their hopes and dreams. Grasping onto faith, they believed, oh how they believed. 70,000 innocent black souls believed, hungry for a safe place to build their family's eternity. They believed. Deposits equaling $57 million in today's economy. They believed. Congress appointed white men as trustees, endowing them with the responsibility to ensure all.
Welcome back to the program. We're talking about Edgar Lee Masters a little bit. I also want to note, even though he's not just a poet, he had 21 books of poetry. He also had 6 novels and 6 biographies. And those biographies included Abraham Lincoln, Mark Twain, Vachel Lindsay, and Walt Whitman, amongst a few others, I'm sure. And he's just a really fascinating literary figure to be aware of. If you're not aware of him, Edgar Lee Masters, then he's worth checking out. You can find, I'm sure, a lot of his poetry is available online. You can probably pick up a Spoon River Anthology at any local bookstore. And he started off, obviously, I mentioned earlier, with law, practice of law. But yeah, I guess he was not very satisfied with that as much as he wanted to be get into literature. So he's an excellent person to look into, and we're putting out his book, a selected poetry, sort of a, look at this classic poet, re-looking at his legacy, re-examining it from a lens of why is he important, and it's important to note that the editor and select of the book, Ryan Guth, he will be on the program Sunday, so keep an eye out on that. As I've mentioned, he will be answering questions. I knew, again, we will be taking comments and questions that day as usual from YouTube, the YouTube subscribe site. If you've not subscribed, I definitely suggest you hit that subscribe button. Blink, blank, bloink. There you go. If you haven't done it, we definitely want you to hit that subscribe button and be in touch with us through YouTube when we put out a new program. So we can also take donations with paypal.me/nyparrot. Not only can we take donations, we will take donations. If you're willing to throw some money our way, we'll be very grateful to you. And remember also, we did do the Parrot Literary Parrot Anthology, Series 1, back in not too long ago, just a few months back. The next quarter will be Series 2, and we released December 1st. So if you've been on the program between the introduction of Series 1 until through this quarter, we will definitely be in touch to discuss you submitting some poetry or a prose piece to go into that book, as well as visual art or any photography you might have related to poetry. If you've got some poem, some pictures and photographs of some spoken word performances, or some interesting buildings. I mean, buildings, landscapes, anything. We'd love to see those too, especially if it's related to literature. So just keep in mind that on Sunday, Ryan Guth will be on the program discussing this wonderful literary figure of Edgar Lee Masters, and Transcend Zero Press in January of 2022 will be releasing his a new edition of his selected poetry, which has not been a edition of his poetry in many years, several years to come out. So this will be a major event for the literary historians. I appreciate you guys watching the program today. Remember, again, you can leave comments. You can leave questions right now on YouTube. And again, if you've not subscribed, hit the subscribe button. Please tell your friends, your family, your dog, your neighbors, and anybody you think will want to be on this program. We're looking again for just more guests. We're going to be doing this for a long time. So we want daily guests on the show. And if you happen to know poets, novelists, creative writers of any kind, we are the only and best show daily working with a global audience to bring you excellent interviews, high quality interviews with the great production. And again, we would love your help out there. If you love literature and you love what we're doing, you can donate paypal.me/nyparrot. If you feel like I'm being repetitive, you can donate at nyparrot. You can donate to paypal.me/nyparrot. So if you feel like I'm being repetitive, you can donate there. Just messing with you guys out there. Please leave some comments on the YouTube as I'm speaking if you are watching right now. And I'll definitely be more than happy to read them and give you an acknowledgement. Remember, this program is not just me. It's also you guys out there who are viewing. Excellent, people out there to listen to our program and enjoy what we're doing. So you guys out there definitely want to hear you out and talk with you guys. And it looks like we have our guest, Hadley here. Very funny that we have you on. Now that I've been blabbering for about 30 minutes, but I'm going to read your bio since I didn't read your bio at the beginning.
Yeah.
I'm going to go and find it. In the meantime, what I'll do is I'll ask you a question. You can answer it. I'll pull up your bio and I'll read it. That way we're not wasting time. So my first question for you is, when did you start writing, and what did you enjoy writing about, and why did writing appeal to you?
Thank you so much for having me. It's really challenging to connect. I've been yearning to have this interview for a while now, and it's been very challenging. But however, this is one way that I have to express myself and also contribute. So basically, how I started writing was at a very young age. Growing up was so tough for me, and I live in a society where we didn't have much to express. We didn't have people that are very outspoken to speak their mind about what is going wrong with the society. We didn't have the opportunity to express how we felt, whether it has to deal with our parents, whether it has to deal with young people, whether it has to deal with the society or the government. So basically, when I started very early writing, that I can remember when I was still at kindergarten, I will always want my teachers to write something and give it to me, so I'll read it loud in front of my mates. But as I grow up, it becomes passion, because for me, something that I seek my refuge from, because my childhood is not easy, and it was never an easy life. So that's just, I can say basically that's how I started writing. I first started with quotations, because growing up, it's just a lonely place, and there's a lot of things that I wanted to have and I was not able to have it. So my best friend, my best portion, my best ability was just to put it on a pen or on my paper and smile and say, you know what, I am glad that I pour my feelings towards this. So basically, this is how I started writing.
Excellent. So I'm going to tell our viewers a little bit about you from your bio. Aji Ndumbeh Jobe is a graduate of the Gambia College School of Education, a member of Victory Foundation, and current mentee at Coaches of Influence Foundation. Her passion for writing and poetry gave her the opportunity to become one of the finalists for Gambia's Got Talent 2019 event and finalist of the Rising Star 2021. Additionally, her passion and skill in painting led her to win the UN 75 painting competition on the theme The Gambia We Want in 2045. She emerged first position. Her passion for photography and poetry led her to recent accomplishments as third place winner of the Oscar of African Creativity Award in Egypt, a graduate of the Tafla Leadership Academy, finalist of the Rising Stars Africa Under Poetry Session, participant of Photography Night in Senegal and Bamako, art exhibition in Khartoum, Sudan, and winner of Emerging Poet. Her hobbies include painting, writing, speaking, and photography, and she desires to turn her photography hobby into a business. So going on with the interview, if those of us who are joining us now, we were discussing a little bit of just kind of introducing you. And then the next question I have is, you know, these awards, you've been given a lot of great recognition. Do you find that does that change your self-image as an artist and poet?
Please come again. I didn't get your question.
Do the recognitions and awards and you know the that you've received over the years, does that ever make you change your self-image as a artist and poet?
I believe it has contributed a lot. It has basically helped me and equipped me to know that it's possible everywhere, because as a young lady, it's difficult to write in a country like where I live, because most of the time we had a stereotype that women need to have a lane where they need to stop. You don't necessarily need to go at certain point, because everybody expects you to have a place. Like we have a box that has a young lady, has a female, that's where you're put. So if you're trying to break free, there are a lot of things. First of all, people say you're overconfident. Second, they say, do she even know her places? Because I've been to a lot of places in and outside of my country, the Gambia. And most of the time I get received from people who say, wow, like, is that you? I say, yeah, what? And most of the time they were like, okay, I was talking to someone who is, I was like, someone like, how? You know, because the expectation is low. And most of the time people don't expect you to be outbreaking like that, to be outspoken. So most of the time, even if I have to lobby for sponsorship for my outside event, I got people say, like, you're so young. What are you going to do there? I mean, how these people get to select you? Like, so in my mind, sometimes I feel furious, but I get to understand that it takes resilience, it takes strength, it takes self-belief and self-esteem to get you somewhere. It's not about your size, it's not about your age. If you're capable, the world will see you. And I believe this is one of the platforms that I must say that I am very grateful to be here to share with you. And I believe that this is not even an effort for me to do, but I believe that having the hope that some way, somehow, at some point in my life, I will have to be places like this was an opportunity. So I believe my accomplishments in and outside of my nation has makes a way for me precisely.
Interesting.
It has.
Excellent. Yeah, I definitely would encourage you to just keep pushing forward and doing what you're doing. You're doing an excellent job. And so you also like to do photography. What subjects do you like to photograph?
So basically, I do portraits. One of my first portrait that I did was with my sister's phone. So she have a little kid who is very fragile and most of the time cries always, but he's friendly. So I came to realize that this kid was just somehow segregated, because most of the time kids will just bump into him and he will cry out loud and come back. So at some point I realized that he was struggling from self-esteem. He doesn't look ugly, at least to me, and I believe that he is somebody who is lovable. But I in my own part, I came to realize that this boy has been a little bit bullied by friends. So I took up this opportunity. I told him one day, I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do a photo shooting for you. He said, what is photo shooting? I said, you know what? I just want you to dress up, and then we're going to go outside and I'll take shots for you. And he said, yes. Without me even having the camera, I took him out to take pictures of him, and one becomes very outstanding. So at some point I just posted, because I love to post on Facebook. I am a Facebooker, by the way. I just posted and write a little caption in it, and somebody share it, and it just go a little bit viral, I can say. And somebody reach out to me and say, hi, I mean, I just saw one post and the picture and the quotation match. I was like, okay, thank you. He said, are you a writer? I said, well, I just write some things. I believe so. So it went viral like that. And at some point I was like, okay, you know what? I need to be taking shots and have captions, because most of the time I would like to write quotations. I would like to express some words, short words. But I came to realize, I was like, okay, you know what? If I am able to write some quotations, I believe with a picture that at least tells more details on what I'm trying to talk about will make sense. So this is how basically the photography passion sparked up, because I will not always want to post pictures without saying anything. Anybody that knows and is my friend on Facebook knows that I will never post anything without having a caption or a quotation on it. So basically that's how the photography passion developed. So even with my own pictures that I post on my page, I'll always have captions, quotations, and writing. So basically I say, you know what, this is a good combination that I can go on. So that's how it basically started. And I gradually, for my trip in Sudan too, started with that way. I had just a kid at our home who plays on the rough streets. I just take a picture of them and share it and share it with someone, and it goes a little bit bigger to say Africa is a continent where it's beautiful, but our beautifulness is not posed on our poor societies. It's based on how we comport and content with the little we have. So that just goes to somewhere and somebody accept it and share it and say, this is a good, but where's the picture? Where's the photograph? I say, no, it's not like a photographer does this. I just take a phone and then take the pictures. Kids were playing outside and I just take it and say, you know what, we're inviting you. So that's how I basically have the opportunity to go there and probably share a few of my stories on how I started and all that. Yeah. Interesting.
That's an interesting story. It just sort of seems like it kind of, accidentally fell on you to do photography, and you found it enjoyable. I'm really curious about your Gambian 245 painting. What did you portray? And how do you feel you're contributing to that vision that you portray in the painting?
So the painting was basically on the theme that is the Gambia we won in 2045. So we were tasked as painters because basically I started with pencil works, like pencil sketches and all that. So basically I was even very nervous when I had that because I know that there's a lot of good painters, senior painters that are in the Gambia, but most of the time they will not contest for these competitions. At some point I was like, okay, you know what, I need to do something. Why not I just come up with something and then go. So I have one of my mentors who actually pushed me and say, you know what, just do it. Actually, you don't even need to win, but just make sure that you have a concept and put it out there. I know somebody somewhere will admire your painting. I said, okay, let me go ahead. So the painting was basically on 5 things. That was one, I represented our Gambian flag, that is red, white, blue, white, green. So on the red, I portray the sun. Anybody that visits the Gambia, of course, I am using this opportunity to sell my country. Anybody that knows the Gambia knows that we have a beautiful smiling sun. That is, of course, nice for people to come and enjoy. And the white remaining piece, despite for the fact that my country is now facing a lot of crime rates or an increase of crime rates that we never experienced, Gambia among the West African countries is known to be very peaceful. Because over the time, it's only in the Gambia you can come and you feel safe. Somebody will not kidnap you. Somebody will not just rob you, or somebody will not just find you in your house and break away and take things or harm you. But in all honesty, now the narrative has been changing. We have been seeing a lot of crime rates and all that. And the green represented agriculture. Of course, 5 years back, we all know that Gambia have been very sufficient when it comes to agricultural development side, which is now presently is the opposite of it. Now we are more dependent, that's the frank thing anyway, now we are more dependent on aids and other materials that are brought into the Gambia for feeding. And also the blue, of course, the river Gambia. Anybody that knows Gambia knows that we have a beautiful sunny beaches, and the ocean is beautiful, blue and clean. So, and if you check out the painting, I was trying to depict the sun, that was the red. And first, when it comes to the marine, that was the sea, I was trying to depict that. The message I was sending there, if you look at the painting, you will see that there is a man near the sea and have a net fishing, but have on his shirt behind the Gambian. So basically what I was trying to portray at that is that our marine are controlled by non-Gambian. I am not against anybody else coming somewhere to come and have aid, but I was basically advocating for Gambians to believe in Gambianism. Gambians to able to walk in these delicate areas, because something has sensitive has food, something has sensitive have clothes. I believe our culture should be able to narrate, should be able to tap into the potential of young people to be given those opportunities to manage those places. So those are basically the things that I was trying to portray. And also on the agricultural side, when you look at it, we are having more manpower than machine powers. So I was basically trying to express that in as much as we have aids from foreign countries, in as much as we have grants from other countries, we should be equally be ready and responsible, equip ourselves and empower ourselves to able to walk into the skills that America, just excuse me for this, that America do not have to come here and develop the Gambia, that Australia don't have to come to develop the Gambia. It's the Gambians that are able to develop the Gambia. No matter how foreign aids we receive from the outside world is good, of course. Every country needs something at some point. But if those aids or those grants or those monies or resources are brought into the Gambia and they are mismanaged, they are misused, what's the point? Right. So on the painting, this what I was basically trying to summarize in the painting, to say that, you know what, in 2045, I want to see youth's employment. I want to see the marine being controlled by Gambian. I want to see that leaders are responsible. And when you look at the red side on top, I have the sun and also have School of Art, and I also have good governance. That is to say, School of Arts, it's rare to go to, except especially in the 21st century, to go to a country and you don't have a School of Art. the art stream or the fine art industry is just put at the corner. And this world cannot develop, this world cannot move without fine arts. You don't have a school of arts in a country in a 21st century. I mean, it's disheartening. It's sad to say, but that's the reality. That's the reality. You don't have a school where you can equip yourself to have skills to train young people that are not going to be going through professional lives to have a living career. It's harsh to say, but that's the reality. I mean, that's the fact on the ground. So this is what I was basically trying to talk about, and also I elaborate on some points, little buildings that I portrayed there that signify good governance. If we have aids from countries outside the world, if we have grants, if we have foreign resources come to the country, and there is no good governance, there is no accountability, there is corruption. I mean, the Gambia is still going to be at the same place. So to summarize all things, this is what I was basically trying to talk about, because I know that government officials will be there. I know some of the government representatives will be there, and lawmakers as well, to check on these things, to round it frame, to say that, you know what, Gambia cannot develop if one side is stagnant. Gambia cannot move if certain delegated areas are put into the hands of wrong people. So the truth has to be brought to the table. So the government officials, so lawmakers, so young people will be able to know what we are going through, and trying to change the narratives. Not only saying it on Facebook, not only tweeting it on Twitter, not only say it on Instagram, but say the reality and do the change that we want to see. So basically, this is what the concept about the painting that I do for the Gambia we want to see in 2045.
So you're conveying a sort of message of national self-determination rather than relying so much on the aid of foreign countries, as you mentioned, United States or Australia or anywhere else. So you're trying to encourage people to really take their country into their own hands, really, to build it themselves and develop their own resources and work hard, and kind of, especially focusing on young people to take their country into their own hands, and basically I think that's a very positive message, and and it's good that you're encouraging basically self-reliance for young people, especially. If you're as they say, if you just give somebody something, it's gone in a matter of time. But if you teach them a skill, or you teach them a way to develop that themselves, develop their own resources, then that lasts longer, then it works for them in the long run much better than trying to just give them handouts or give them something just for its own sake. So are you still there, or did we lose you? I think we lost our guest. Maybe she'll be back. Okay, are you back? All right. It happens. Sometimes it happens. It's happened before. So my next question for you is, what kind of activism do you do in Gambia where you're at? Do you do any kind of I don't want to say political, but maybe more social activism? You're very active in encouraging your fellow countrymen to take their country into their own power. Do you do any kind of other activist work or social activism or political activism?
I've been thinking of actually venturing into politics. Actually, sorry for that. I've been actually trying to venture into politics. Okay. But I am just trying to political activism, but I'm just waiting for a bit, because I've came to realize that when you're known for some sport or at a particular area, you don't necessarily need to go all out, give it yourself, and be everywhere. I want a sense of direction, and I also want a sense of focus. In as much as I want things to change, I need to know the way forward in bringing change. And first is that about the political system. I am not happy about how the political system is working. But one thing I am trying to do is that I am trying to stabilize things. I know that it's a collective responsibility, but I am doing my part as a Gambian citizen, and that is to do my activism, to do my condemnation, to do my constructive criticisms about the government, about the system in place, about the political system in place, in my own way, and that I have to do it with writing. But then there are a lot of attacks that you will face most of the time when I talk about express my feelings about how I'm seeing political parties being manifested, how I see how the political system is walking away. But in as much as I want to get myself into politics, first I need to start with my school. And I believe that when I started, or just finished last year, the Gambia College, that was basically what I was trying to activate on. But I believe that I need to be taught on what are the government systems in place first, that what will work for the Gambia, what kind of systems are we having, what is the problem first, before I even talk about anything or condemn about anything. You know, Africa, basically, we are taught to respond and not to listen and understand. So I believe that that narrative started with me on social activism first, before I even talk to politicians, before I talk about politics, because I believe that change begins in the mindset. And if you're talking about people that are up there, the mindset is supposed to be changed, and that has to do with social life. That has to be do with accepting who you are, embracing what you have, and trying to get somewhere, of course. But then, if the society is polluted and you want to change the aircraft that is walking or swelling or flying on top of the sky, I mean, you're making a mistake. The change is supposed to start here. This change is supposed to start with my society. I cannot build a skyscraper on somebody's town when my town do not have electricity. So I believe that my socialism, my activism start with the mindset of young people that, hey, you know what? Believe in yourself. But that is not enough. Motivate yourself. That is not enough. Find mentors. That is not enough. Hard work and honesty. That paves the way. Nothing else. There is nothing else. Honesty, hard work, and pave the way. That's all. So if I want to change the government systems, I believe that's a far-fetched. I want to start with my society. I want to start with young people that are vulnerable. I want to start with people that have the skills but don't have the opportunity. Rise up what they expect to be. So in as much as I want to venture into politics in future, that will be reserved. But for now, my focus is our society, as Gambian, as young people, as bona fide pure Africans. That's how we need to set aside that, you know what, we can make a difference, but habits and mindsets supposed to change first. If these are not changed, the wind of wisdom, the wind of change, the wind of becoming and dreaming of Africa becoming a better continent cannot work. So these are basically my focus, that I want the society to change first, and first the mindset. Supposed to be eradicated, supposed to be cleaned, supposed to be enlightened, supposed to be influenced positively to make immense change. Without this, it's not going to work up there. So in my own language, they say is that you can actually change or rebend a branch that is wet and is right growing. But if you want to change a branch that is already dry, you end up cutting it. That's a local proverb from my tribe. And if you look at this, there's a lot of sense. The upbringing of a mindset is supposed to start as a young people. I mean, somebody who's in his 40s or his 50s, if you want to change that, the first thing you will hear in my continent is, I was born before you, so I know things better than you. So if those people are difficult to change the young ones that are coming to upbringing, so that the germination and the seed is sown on the ground will germinate into trees that are better than the big trees we have somewhere. So this is where I can start for that.
Now, I'm curious, would you like to read a poem for us?
Yes, I would like to read a poem, and I believe this is my favorite poem. I believe it's talked about the government basically, I have a lot of people talks to me and say you are anti-government, but I believe that writing is a beautiful way in which you express words and grievances and anger and change without having to hurt anybody. So my piece is going to be entitled My Democratic Nation. It basically talks about how the Gambia works and all that. So it goes this way. Democracy is a process that you see. Transparency, advocacy, and legitimacy. Election free and fair to cast in your votes for leaders that matters the most. I mean, leaders who cares about the education system, job securities without any confusion. May the decision makers, not the takers, marginalize not our hope as a community, but give us hope as a nation. In my nation, you can see so many hungry men and women. Hungry not for food, but hungry for political and economic opportunities. Democracy, plutocracy, autocracy. Give back not to a democratic state, but the good governance with a promising state. Empty not our brains with the new Gambia. Well, I say there is no new Gambia. There's a change of government occur from the dictatorial side to a democratic nation. Everybody perambulating on the social media expressing their grievance against the government. Well, I say if this nation desire is to rise to the epic of development, the government have to be accountable. Citizens of this nation have to look at the Gambia as a household where all tribes shall breed and succeed, where all gender-based violence shall be the thing of the past, where gender equality shall be the roll carpet of every corporation in this nation, where our health sector shall not be like a graveyard waiting to swallow promising soul that could add up to this nation's generation, where agriculture is not only the backbone of this nation, rather an agenda for food sustainability, where our religious beliefs shall not be the barrier to help one another, rather for the sake of humanity, where our mindsets are changed, our systems break. When I cry in my system slides and I cry in a lack of days that this nation shall not develop, unless the world divides into its nations. These nations that like in assessment. For youthful generations to have this nation at the hand. We don't just that brings us skyscrapers that can come to this nation. Foreign aid not give a generation when the nation's development are not ready to wait to take the levels of this nation to a better side. Until the government is accountable, until citizens understand that this nation cannot divide with the foreign aid that comes to the country, but hard work and honesty, until our minds are set and changed, that Africa will rise. But only if you understand diversity is key. Blackness does not make you better. If this nation cry, I want to understand that poetry is life. When our lines failed, my pen bleeds into species, words of wisdom. I will smile and say, I am hopeful, for the change begins with me. That's the end of my piece.
Well, thank you for sharing that. That's a very, I love the interplay of the words and the language and the meaning that you're sharing with us. That kind of summarizes the entire discussion we've had. So, and thank you so much for joining us on the program today. It's been really pleasant talking with you. So this has been the New York Parrot.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
Thank you. Sorry about the technical difficulties. That can be frustrating, but we got you on, and it's great that we talked with you today. And so thank you, and I hope you have a lot of promise, and you definitely get some things accomplished and keep moving where you're going. And it'll be wonderful to see where you're at in 5-10 years from now, what you're doing then. What's going on in your world at that point. Thank you again. This has been the New York Parrot Literary Corner, and I'm Dustin Pickering, your host. And we had a wonderful discussion today. And if you want to donate again, the donation is at paypal.me/nyparrot. That's a wonderful place to spend some money if you have a little extra. So they will keep us moving. If you want to join us on the program as a guest writer, you can get in touch with me at literarycorner@newyorkparrot.com. We're also looking for spoken word videos, music performances, anything that you would like to share artistically on the program. We definitely need some stuff to fill in the breaks and keep the program moving smoothly. So if you have things you'd like to share on our program, get in touch with me and I'll see if we can set that up for you. And remember to go out and do some writing. Do some research if you can't write. If you feel a writer's block, it doesn't exist. It's in your head. just take that block out and keep your pen moving and keep performing out there, all you spoken word performers and so forth. And remember that this is the Parrot Literary Corner. We're here to support you. So be in touch and leave comments and subscribe to our YouTube. And thank you for joining us today. Have an excellent afternoon.
Thank you so much for having me. It was Thank you.
The Literary Corner, brought to you by New York Parrot TV, the voice for humanity.